Hello everybody and welcome! Kerbal Space Program has become a steaming pile of garbage, and here's why. The game is plagued with more than 1,000 bugs, many of which prevent me from enjoying the game as I did a year or two ago. And I'm not alone, other creators who do KSP content have similar problems. Here's one of my main gripes. I built this nice contraption designed to encapsulate an asteroid, and on a regular basis, memory usage shoots up to 12 gigabytes of RAM or more. Attaching a part took me half a minute at one point. And this is just one of many issues. When I'm talking about more than 1,000 bugs, I am not speaking in hyperbole, because if you look at the official KSP bug tracker, there are currently 1,303 bugs labeled open. 538 of these are labeled new, meaning nobody except a poor soul reporting the bug has ever looked at these issues. The oldest of these range back to 2016. And yes, some of them were reported by me, including the memory issue I mentioned. Instead of a fix for that, even more new stuff is announced. I think we can all agree that the bug situation is not good, right? Well, there is another problem which is more of an underlying quality issue, and that is technical debt. Now, there's a lot of debate in the software development community whether or not bugs are part of technical debt. I tend to agree with those who define technical debt as something a software vendor knowingly creates out of varying reasons, in contrast to bugs, which usually are things that slip through unbeknownst to the developers. Atlassian, the company behind the well-known tools Jira, Bitbucket and Confluence, cites tech debt as the difference between what was promised and what was actually delivered. But what does that mean? Let me illustrate my understanding of and personal experience with technical debt with a little diagram I like to use when talking about technical debt. The x-axis represents time, the y-axis the scope a development team wants to deliver for the next release. Let's say a team wants to deliver a scope of this size and estimates that it will be able to deliver at a certain point in time. So far so good, and similar to a burndown chart, something you might be familiar with. The team makes good progress, but then, alas, management decides that the release has to be earlier than the team estimated for completion due to reasons. Now, what do? You take a shortcut. You develop something you know is a little flawed and you add to-do comments into your code to make it better when one day you have more time. Spoiler alert, you won't. The release is a success, management is happy, but at the expense of creating technical debt. The next release is planned with a similar scope. The team is diligent and adds the additional time to their estimation to get rid of the technical debt. Management is not happy and halfway into the development process demands an earlier release. Again! You already managed to deliver a scope of that size in shorter time, so why do you need no more time now? Well, you take another shortcut. You pile up additional technical debt for the next release. Once into that downward spiral, there is only one outcome: the flat line. You won't be able to create new fancy stuff. You need all your resources to fix bad code and rushed designs. This can increase the amount of bugs your software generates, but not necessarily. It's bad enough that you create something that is essentially unmaintainable. Sounds far-fetched? I've been there with a previous employer of mine, and I recognize certain patterns when I see them. One of them is the urge of companies to present new features for every release instead of consolidating and stabilizing the ones they already have. KSP has had problems with performance and especially memory leaks for years. But what do we get? New parts. Now, I'm not knocking the effort going into these new things, and I understand the urge of the developers to have something nice to show for their work. Every time you ignore technical debt and work around it, you add on top of it instead of getting rid of it to make further developments easier. There is a giant fanbase out there yearning for more than just a few shiny things, especially if you would like them to invest into upcoming possible expansion packs, such as making history. Now, I'm not saying that Kerbal Space Program is already in flatline territory, but if you look at the numbers I've provided above, we can clearly see that the game has a quality problem. Also, technical debt is not always avoidable, but you can take precautions and try to mitigate it as much as possible. I have to admit that I do not have any insight into what is going on inside the development department of KSP at this point in time. Maybe they are already working on various performance issues, or maybe even an engine update, who knows? I like to keep my hopes up, but experience with past releases shows that many bugs are not only not fixed, new ones are added on top of them. For me, this is an indication that the software has become very hard to maintain. I hate how the game is bogged down by these performance issues, and yet I still find myself coming back to it. I still love it. And that's why I sincerely hope somebody over at KSP headquarters is listening. Make a release entirely focused on eliminating technical debt and squashing bugs. I personally would welcome that more than the umpteenth fuel tank. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Also, you can watch one of the 2 cool videos shown on the right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.